Picture this. You're 39 weeks pregnant, standing on your front lawn, your water just broke, and your phone is blowing up with messages saying, "Are you watching your husband's live stream?" You click the link, and there he is, your millionaire husband, sitting in a penthouse you've never seen, with a woman in his lap, 287,000 people watching, while you're being evicted, while you're going into labor, while your entire life is being packed into boxes by strangers. This isn't fiction. This happened to a woman named Claire Donovan. And what happened next? It gets so much worse before it gets better. Because here's the thing about leaving a narcissist. The real battle doesn't start when you leave. It starts after, when they realize they can't control you anymore. When they weaponize the court system, social media, even child protective services against you. Claire thought she'd hit rock bottom on that lawn. She had no idea. The eviction was just the beginning. There were 3 more catastrophic events coming. Moments where she almost gave up completely. Where she texted her husband, "You win, take custody, I'm done." But she didn't hit send. And what happened in the year that followed changed not just her life, but the lives of hundreds of women who were watching, who were trapped in the same situation, who thought they were crazy. This is the story of how Claire survived the unsurvivable, how a mother-in-law finally chose truth over her own son, how a stranger risked everything to expose years of fraud, and how sometimes losing everything is the only way to find out who you really are. Stay with me, because the ending, you won't see it coming. And somewhere in this story, there might be a truth you need to hear. Let's begin. Claire Donovan stood barefoot on her front lawn in 95-degree Georgia heat, watching her life get packed into cardboard boxes by strangers. She was 39 weeks pregnant. Her belly was so swollen she couldn't see her own feet. The flip-flop on her left foot had broken an hour ago, so now she stood on hot concrete, feeling it burn through her sock. The sheriff's deputy, a man named Owen Marshall with kind eyes and a weathered face, was taping an eviction notice to her front door. Behind him, a moving truck backed up her driveway. Professional movers, not the sheriff's office. Someone had paid for private movers to clear out her belongings. Claire's hand rested on her belly. A contraction rippled through her, not painful yet, just a tightening that made her catch her breath. Braxton Hicks, she told herself. False labor. She'd been having them for weeks. But these felt different. These felt real. Neighbors watched from their porches. Mrs. Chen from next door. The Johnsons from across the street. Small-town Georgia judgment, thick as the humidity. Claire could feel their stares, their whispers, their pity. Her phone buzzed in the pocket of her maternity dress. A text from an unknown number. "Watching Grant's stream? You're trending LOL." Then a skull emoji and a link. Claire's finger hovered over the link. She knew she shouldn't click it, knew that whatever waited on the other end would hurt, but she clicked anyway. The video loaded. Grant's face filled her screen. Her husband, 34 years old. Handsome in that carefully curated way that looked effortless, but took 90 minutes of grooming every morning. His dark hair perfectly tousled, his jaw sharp, his smile wide and charismatic. He sat in a room she didn't recognize, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Atlanta, expensive furniture, modern art on the walls, a gaming setup that must have cost thousands of dollars. And sitting in his lap, her legs draped over his, was Tessa Kane. Tessa, the gaming partner Grant mentioned occasionally. 26 years old, blonde, pretty in a way that made Claire feel ancient at 32. Grant laughed at something off camera. The sound echoed from Claire's phone speaker. That laugh, she used to love that laugh. She'd heard it on their first date, on their wedding day, when they'd seen the first ultrasound of Lily. The chat scrolled by on the side of the screen. "Where's the pregnant wife? This is savage. Grant's finally free. That baby probably isn't even his. She's probably watching this right now, lol." Another contraction hit, stronger this time. Claire's vision tunneled. She looked down and saw it. Water running down her legs, not a trickle, a flood. Her water had broken, right there, on her front lawn, in full view of her neighbors, with a sheriff's deputy and two movers watching. The amniotic fluid soaked through her dress and pooled on the concrete beneath her feet. "Ma'am?" Deputy Marshal's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Ma'am, are you all right?" A cardboard box hit the driveway behind her. One of the movers had started emptying the house. Her maternity clothes exploded across the concrete. Soft pastels, stretchy fabrics, the clothes she'd bought for this pregnancy. The live stream audio kept playing from her phone. Grant's voice, Tessa's giggle, the constant ding of donation alerts. "Yeah, guys, today's the day," Grant was saying on the stream. "Freedom Day. Sometimes you gotta cut dead weight to level up, you know?" Claire looked down at the puddle spreading beneath her feet, then at the eviction notice on her door, then at her phone screen where her husband sat with another woman in an apartment she'd never seen. Her mind couldn't connect the pieces. This was her life. These were the facts, but they didn't make sense together. Another contraction seized her, stronger. Her belly tightened like a fist. She gasped and bent forward. Deputy Marshal was at her side immediately. "Ma'am, you need medical attention." "I need my husband," Claire said. The words came out as a whisper. "Ma'am, I need to get my hospital bag from inside. It's in the nursery closet. Pink duffel. Please." She heard herself begging, heard the desperation in her voice, but she couldn't stop. The hospital bag had everything. The baby's coming home outfit, the tiny hat and booties, the blanket her mother had crocheted before she died. Everything she'd prepared for this moment was inside that house, and they were locking her out. "I'll radio for an ambulance," Deputy Marshal said gently. "I can drive myself. Just let me get the bag. Please. It has the baby's coming home outfit. I embroidered her name. Lily. Lily Grace Donovan." Saying her daughter's name out loud broke something inside her. Lily Grace Donovan, a name they'd chosen together. Grant lying in bed with his hand on her belly, feeling Lily kick. "What about Grace?" he'd said. "After your mom." Claire had cried happy tears, grateful that he understood how much it would mean to honor her mother's memory. Had he been planning this even then? Had he been planning to take everything from her while pretending to give her what she wanted most? Her phone rang. Patricia Donovan, Grant's mother. Claire's thumb hovered over the answer button. Some part of her still hoped. Maybe Patricia was calling to help. Maybe Patricia didn't know. Maybe this was all a terrible misunderstanding. She answered. "Claire, dear." Patricia's voice was cool, measured. "I'm watching Grant's stream. He's explaining everything." "Patricia, Another contraction seized Claire. She couldn't speak through it, could only breathe in short, sharp gasps. "Really, Claire," Patricia continued, "you can't expect him to put his career on hold because you decided to get pregnant." "I decided?" The words came out strangled. "We decided. We planned. Grant says you tampered with the birth control. He has proof, text messages, medical records, everything documented for the divorce proceedings." The phone nearly slipped from Claire's hands. Not from the contraction this time, from the realization. Divorce proceedings, past tense, not something being considered, something already in motion. "I'm not crazy," Claire said. The words came out as a statement, firm, clear. "I know what happened. We chose this baby together." "Oh, sweetheart, you're obviously under a lot of stress right now. The hormones, the pregnancy, it's affecting your judgment. Grant's been very worried about you. He's been documenting everything for months." Documenting, like she was a case study, a problem to be solved, evidence to be gathered. Claire ended the call. Deputy Marshal was speaking into his radio again. The words washed over her without meaning. She stood there in her soaked dress, contractions coming 6 minutes apart now, watching strangers remove her belongings from her home while her husband lived, streamed with his mistress, and her mother-in-law called her crazy. The shock was absolute, complete. Reality had fractured into something unrecognizable. Deputy Marshal returned to her side. In his hands, he held her pink duffel bag. "I bent the rules," he said quietly. "You've got 2 minutes to sit in your car before I have to secure the premises. Ambulance is 8 minutes out." Claire looked at her driveway. Empty. "I don't have a car," she said. "Grant took it this morning. said it needed service, for safety, because of the baby. The words sounded absurd even as she said them. She heard the manipulation now, heard the setup. He'd taken her car so she couldn't leave. So she'd be trapped here when the eviction happened. So she'd be helpless, dependent, exactly where he wanted her. Deputy Marshall looked at the live stream still playing on her phone. At Grant in the penthouse she'd never known existed. At Tessa wearing what looked like Claire's missing diamond earrings. That son of a... Marshall caught himself, his face flushed with anger. Not at Claire, for her. Ma'am, I'll drive you myself. You can't stay here. You're in labor. You can't. Your supervisor can write me up later. You're in labor. You're in distress, and I'm not leaving you on this lawn. He put his hand on her elbow, gentle, respectful, the first kind touch she'd felt all day. Claire let him guide her toward the patrol car. As Deputy Marshall drove carefully through midday traffic, Claire's mind drifted back. 3 years ago, a marketing conference in Nashville. She'd been 29 working as a graphic designer at a boutique Atlanta agency, making $68,000 a year, her own apartment, her own life, her own future. Grant had been a speaker on a panel about social media monetization. 50,000 followers at the time, small but growing. He'd seemed different from her ex, charming, attentive, authentic. That word, authentic. How many times had he used it? I'm all about authenticity, he'd said on their first date. No filters, no fakeness, just real life, real connection. She'd believed him. God, she'd believed every word. The courtship had been a whirlwind. He talked about building a life, not just a following, about Sunday mornings and growing old together, about none of this influencer fakeness, real life. He'd proposed at Stone Mountain. Very Georgia, very public, very filmed. Of course it was filmed. Everything was content. The wedding had been intimate, meaning small enough to feel personal but fully monetized on his channel. His subscribers loved it. The authentic influencer settling down, finding real love. Claire had quit her job a year into the marriage. That decision, that single decision, the beginning of everything. Grant's channel had exploded. 50,000 subscribers to 500,000 in 6 months. Income jumped to 40,000 a month. Babe, quit your job, he'd said. Let me support you. Stress isn't good for us when we're trying for a baby. I make enough for both of us. Her boss, Sarah, had warned her. Claire, financial independence is everything. Don't give up your career. But Grant had been persuasive. Don't you trust me? I thought we were partners. This feels like you don't believe in us. He'd made her doubt her own instincts. Made her feel like protecting herself was a betrayal of him. She'd quit. Biggest mistake of her life. Year 2 of marriage, trying for a baby, 12 months of negative tests. Grant became distant, working late, smelling like perfume. Claire found texts from someone named Jess. Flirty messages, more than professional. She confronted him, hands shaking, voice barely steady. And Grant had delivered a masterclass in gaslighting. Claire, this is toxic. You're reading what you want to see. Jess is gay. This is about your insecurity, not my behavior. Maybe we should talk to someone about your jealousy issues. He'd made her apologize, made her feel crazy for trusting her own eyes. Here's something most people don't realize about manipulation. It doesn't look like lying. It looks like love. It looks like someone protecting you from your own worst instincts. It sounds like, I'm just worried about you, babe. When someone makes you apologize for catching them in a lie, that's not love. That's control. The positive pregnancy test had come 13 months into trying, finally pregnant. She thought it would fix everything. Grant's reaction? He'd stared at the test too long. Long enough that her excitement started to curdle into anxiety. You're sure? He'd finally said. 3 tests, all positive. We're pregnant. We're pregnant, he'd repeated. Like he was testing the words. Like he was trying them on to see if they fit. Then he'd smiled, kissed her, said all the right things. I'm so happy, babe. This is amazing. We're going to be parents. But his eyes had been cold, and Claire had seen it, seen the calculation underneath the performance. She'd immediately pushed it away, told herself she was being paranoid. Hormonal. Ridiculous. Now she knew. That was the moment he'd started planning her exit. Deputy Marshal's voice pulled her back to the present. Ma'am, we're almost there. How far apart are the contractions? 4 minutes, Claire said. You're moving fast. First baby? First everything, first time single mom, first time homeless. First time fighting a millionaire in court. Marshall glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You're going to make it through this. How do you know? Because you're still here, still fighting, still caring about what's right. That's all you need. The hospital entrance appeared ahead. Claire saw Brooke's car already there, hazards flashing. Her best friend, her only friend who'd listened when things with Grant started feeling wrong 6 months ago. But behind Brooke's car, a news van pulled up. Channel 7. A reporter jumped out, camera operator in tow. How did they? Marshall started. Grant's live stream is public, Claire said. Anyone could connect the dots. She was going to give birth with news cameras watching. Marshall pulled up to the emergency entrance, killed the engine, looked at Claire with something like apology in his eyes. You ready for this? Does it matter if I'm ready? No, I guess it doesn't. Brooke appeared at the patrol car door before Claire could open it. Tall, professional, fierce. Her lawyer face was on. Don't say anything, Brooke said. Don't post anything. I've got you. Another contraction. Stronger. Claire doubled over in the seat. When it passed, she managed to speak. He's narrating my life while I'm living it. I know. I have to document the truth. You have to give birth, Brooke interrupted firmly. That's all you have to do right now. Everything else can wait. A wheelchair appeared. A hospital volunteer, elderly woman with kind eyes, helped Claire transfer from the car to the chair. Deputy Marshal set the pink duffel bag in Claire's lap. Good luck, ma'am. Thank you for everything. You didn't have to. Just doing my job. No, Claire said. You did more than your job. You were kind. That's different. The news camera swiveled toward them. The reporter started forward. Mrs. Donovan, do you have a comment about your husband's allegations? No comment, Brooke said sharply. Is it true you've been financially abusing your husband? No comment. They pushed through the automatic doors into the blessedly cool, quiet hospital lobby. Brooke leaned down close to Claire's ear as they waited for the elevator. Claire, I need to tell you something before we get upstairs. Before things get more complicated. Claire opened her eyes, looked at her friend's face, saw the anger there, the protective fury, and underneath something that looked like pity. What? Grant filed for divorce 3 days ago. The elevator dinged, the doors opened. It's being served tomorrow. He timed everything, the eviction, the stream, the filing. This wasn't impulsive, this is calculated. Claire sat very still. Contractions 4 minutes apart, water broken, in labor with her first child, and her husband had filed for divorce 3 days ago without telling her. She wasn't losing her husband in a moment of passion. She'd lost him months ago, maybe years ago, and she'd never even known. The labor and delivery room was too bright, too cold, too sterile for the destruction of an entire life. Brooke handled the admission paperwork while Claire sat in the wheelchair, contractions 3 minutes apart now. Her mind fractured between physical crisis and emotional devastation. A nurse entered. Her name tag read Sandra. She was in her 50s, competent and efficient. She'd seen everything, done everything. Nothing surprised her anymore. Dad in the waiting room? Sandra asked, wrapping a blood pressure cuff around Claire's arm. No, Dad, Claire said. Sandra's expression didn't change. Support person? Me, Brooke said. I'm her emergency contact now. All right, let's get you changed and checked. These contractions are close. The exam was quick, professional. When it was done, Dr. Helen Bartlett pulled off her gloves. She was in her 60s, kind eyes, no-nonsense hands. She'd been delivering babies for 3 decades. You're at 6 centimeters, Dr. Bartlett said. Moving fast for a first baby. This little one wants out. She's smarter than her mother already, Claire said. Dr. Bartlett paused, looked at Claire directly. Really looked at her, not at the patient, at the person. I've been delivering babies for 32 years, she said. Never met a mother who wasn't smart enough. Just ones who loved people who weren't smart enough to love them back. Claire felt something crack inside her chest. The validation. The acknowledgement that this wasn't her fault. I knew something was wrong, Claire said. I knew it for months. I just kept thinking if I was good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, he'd come back, but he was never there to begin with. No, Dr. Bartlett agreed. He wasn't. Labor progressed, 6 centimeters, 7, 8. The pain became something beyond description. Something that narrowed reality down to just this body, this moment, this impossible task. I want to push, Claire said. Not yet, Dr. Bartlett repeated. Your cervix isn't quite ready. Time became strange. Elastic. Claire lost track of minutes. Lost track of everything except the primal rhythm of her body doing what bodies had done for millennia. Somewhere in the middle of it all, a memory surfaced. 5 months ago, the moment she told Grant she was pregnant, she'd planned a whole reveal. Rose petals on the bed, the positive test wrapped in a tiny box with a bow. Grant had come home late, smelling like cologne and expensive drinks. She'd shown him. He'd stared at the test for too long, long enough that her excitement started to curdle. You're sure, he'd said? That was the moment. That was when he'd started planning her exit, and she'd seen it in his eyes, seen the cold calculation, and immediately pushed it away. Claire! Dr. Bartlett's voice pulled her back. I can see the head. One more big push. Claire bore down with everything she had, every ounce of strength, every bit of fury and grief and determination. And then, with a sensation like the world splitting open, Lily Grace was born. The cry was immediate, loud, furious, the sound of a person announcing their arrival, demanding to be acknowledged. It's a girl, Dr. Bartlett said. Healthy and angry? Perfect. They placed Lily on Claire's chest, wet and warm and screaming. Claire looked down at her daughter, really looked at her, dark hair plastered to her skull, scrunched up face, tiny fists waving. Hi, Lily, Claire whispered. Hi, baby, I'm your mom. Lily's screaming quieted at the sound of Claire's voice. Her eyes opened, dark blue, unfocused but searching. She knows you, Sandra said, covering them both with a warmed blanket. She's been listening to your voice for 9 months. Claire started crying, not from pain this time, from something else, something that felt like grief and joy tangled together so tightly she couldn't separate them. This was her daughter, this tiny person who depended on her completely, who didn't know her father had abandoned them, who didn't know they had no home, who didn't know anything except that she was warm and safe and held. Do you want to cut the cord? Dr. Bartlett asked Brooke. Brooke looked shocked. Me? If Claire's okay with it, since Dad's not here. Claire nodded. Please. So Brooke, who'd been Claire's friend for 12 years, who'd been her maid of honor, who'd been the first person she'd called when things started falling apart, Brooke cut Lily's umbilical cord, the physical separation from Claire. The first moment of Lily being her own person, separate, independent. Apgar scores are great, Sandra announced. 8 and 9. She's perfect. Perfect. What a word. Lily wasn't perfect. She was human, fragile, vulnerable. But she was here. She was real. And she was Claire's. Do you want to try feeding her? Sandra asked. With Sandra's help, Claire got Lily positioned. Lily's mouth opened, searched, found Claire's nipple, and latched on. The sensation was strange, not painful but intense. Intimate in a way Claire hadn't expected. She's a natural, Sandra said. Look at her go. Brooke took a photo with her phone. For you, not for posting, just to remember. As if Claire could ever forget this moment, this feeling, this profound shift in her identity from one person to another. She wasn't just Claire anymore. She was Lily's mother. That would never change. No matter what Grant did, no matter what the courts decided, no matter what happened next. She was Lily's mother, and Lily was hers. 2 hours of peace, 2 hours of just being a new mother with her newborn daughter. Brooke dozed in the corner chair. Sandra checked vitals. Dr. Bartlett stopped by once, smiled, said everything looked perfect. Claire held Lily and thought, maybe this is it. Maybe the worst is over. Maybe from here, things can only get better. She had no idea the worst was still coming. Day 2 in the hospital. Dawn light filtered through the blinds. Lily slept in the bassinet beside Claire's bed. Brooke was slumped in the corner chair, finally resting after 18 hours of being Claire's advocate. Claire sat in the dark, holding her phone. She'd charged it finally, and now she was making the mistake of looking at it. 47 missed calls, 132 text messages, most from unknown numbers. She opened her email. 316 new messages. Grant's live stream had gone viral. Of course it had. Drama always went viral. But something had shifted in the comments. Claire scrolled through them. Wait, he streamed while his wife was in labor? That's messed up. Anyone else think this guy is a narcissist? She was being evicted while pregnant, and he was with another woman? That's not okay. The tide was turning. Slowly, but turning. A knock on the door interrupted her scrolling. A woman stood in the doorway. Mid-30s, professional attire, nervous energy. Claire, I'm Rachel Summers. I used to work for Grant as his personal assistant. Claire tensed. I don't want to talk to anyone from Grant's. I'm the one who leaked the divorce filing, Rachel interrupted. I have more, much more. I've been documenting his behavior for 2 years. Brooke woke up immediately, alert despite the exhaustion. Documenting what? Rachel entered, closed the door behind her, pulled out her laptop. Everything. Financial records, text messages, emails, bank statements, a timeline of manipulation spanning years. She opened a folder. Files and files, documents, screenshots, evidence. The penthouse, Rachel said. He bought it with money from his charity, the one he set up for underprivileged kids. The charity is a shell company. He's been funneling money through it for years. Brooke leaned in. This is federal crime territory. I know, I kept copies of everything. I was waiting for the right moment. Why now? Claire asked. Rachel looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully in the bassinet. Because I have a daughter, she's 4, and I don't want her to grow up in a world where men like Grant win. For the next hour, Rachel walked them through everything, the charity fraud, the fake consulting fees to Tessa, the planned eviction timeline, the forged prenuptial agreement. Wait, Claire said, what prenuptial agreement? Rachel pulled up a document. This one, that you supposedly signed 8 months into your marriage. Claire read it, her signature at the bottom. Witnessed by Patricia Donovan. I never signed this, Claire said. I know, Rachel said quietly. I was there the day he forged it. He had you sign fake documents, investment forms, boring legal paperwork. Then he forged your signature on the real prenup. Patricia witnessed it. She knew. The betrayal was like a physical blow. Patricia had known, had watched it happen, had said nothing. This gives him everything, and Brooke said, reading through the document. The house, the savings, everything in his name, protected, and leaves you with nothing. But if he forged it, Claire said slowly, then it's not valid. Exactly, Rachel said. And I have proof of the forgery, proof Patricia knew, proof of everything. Brooke pulled out her tablet, started taking notes, building a case. Claire, this is it. This is what we need. With this evidence, we can bury him. For the first time in 48 hours, Claire felt something that wasn't despair. Hope. Fragile. Tentative. But hope. We're going to win, she said. Rachel nodded. He's been doing this for years, first to Rebecca, his first wife, now to you. But you're going to be the one who stops him. They spent the rest of the morning going through documents, building timelines, connecting dots. Claire nursed Lily, changed her diaper, marveled at her tiny perfection, while Brooke and Rachel constructed the case that would destroy Grant. By noon, they had it, a comprehensive file documenting years of financial crimes, manipulation, and abuse. The court date is in 2 weeks, Brooke said. We'll present all of this. The judge will see exactly who Grant is. You'll get full custody. He'll get supervised visitation at best. And he'll face federal charges for the charity fraud. Claire looked at her sleeping daughter, at the evidence spread across the hospital bed, at her best friend and this stranger who'd risked everything to help her. Thank you, she said to Rachel. Why did you keep working for him if you knew? Because I needed evidence, Rachel said, and because I wanted to be there when he fell. I wanted to watch karma catch up. Is karma real? Claire asked. Sometimes, Rachel said, when good people make it real. 48 hours later, Claire woke in Brooke's guest house to 47 missed calls. Something was wrong. She checked social media. Her blood went cold. Grant had released a video, 45 minutes long, titled, My Truth, Surviving Financial Abuse. Claire's hands shook as she pressed play. Grant sat in his penthouse. No Tessa visible, just him, looking earnest, vulnerable, hurt. I didn't want to make this video, he began, but I've been silent for too long, and silence protects abusers. He was using her language, the language of victims, twisting it. My wife Claire trapped me with a pregnancy, he said. I have proof, text messages where she talked about getting pregnant to secure her future. Medical records showing she lied about birth control. The video cut to screenshots. Text messages that looked like they were from Claire's phone, except Claire had never sent them. They were fake, or edited, or taken wildly out of context. She spent recklessly, Grant continued. The video showed receipts, every baby purchase Claire had made, every maternity dress, every nursery item, itemized, highlighted, made to look excessive. $20,000 in 3 months, Grant said, on baby items we didn't need, designer clothes, expensive furniture, all while claiming we couldn't afford things I wanted. The comments were already flooding in. Oh my God, she baby-trapped him. Poor Grant, finally speaking his truth. Women like her are why men need protection. The video continued. Grant, tearful now, talked about how he'd been documenting Claire's instability for months, how he'd been worried about the baby's safety, how he'd tried to get her help, but she'd refused. Then came the audio, Claire's voice, crying, saying, I can't do this anymore. I don't know if I want this. It was from a moment 6 months into her pregnancy. A moment of vulnerability when pregnancy hormones had her sobbing over nothing. Grant had held her, comforted her, told her it was okay to feel overwhelmed. And he'd been recording her. He'd recorded her most vulnerable moments, edited them, weaponized them. The video ended with Grant, tears streaming down his face. I love my daughter. I want to be in her life, but I can't stay in an abusive marriage. I hope Claire gets the help she needs. I hope our daughter grows up safe. 2.3 million views in 18 hours. The backlash was immediate. The support for Grant was overwhelming. Claire sat on the floor of Brooke's guest house, Lily asleep in a bassinet beside her, and watched her reputation get destroyed in real time. Her phone rang. Brooke. Claire, don't look at social media. I already did. Okay, we can fight this. We have Rachel's evidence. We have the truth. Brooke. Claire's voice was flat, dead. He's winning. He's always been winning. The truth doesn't matter when he controls the narrative. Claire. A knock on the door. Claire opened it. Hospital security stood there. Behind them, a woman in her 50s. Professional. Exhausted. Mrs. Donovan, I'm Ms. Johnson from Child Protective Services. There's been a report. Ms. Johnson sat across from Claire in Brooke's guest house, a clipboard in her lap, her expression carefully neutral. Mrs. Donovan, we received a report of potential neglect. The caller claims you have no stable housing, no income, and are experiencing postpartum psychosis. Who called? Claire asked, though she already knew. The call was anonymous, but detailed. They mentioned you were evicted while pregnant, have no family support, and made threats against the father. I never threatened anyone. Ma'am, I have to investigate. Standard procedure. I need to assess your living situation within 72 hours. If you don't have stable housing by then, Ms. Johnson trailed off. Didn't need to finish. The unspoken threat hung in the air. They could take Lily. This is retaliation, Brooke said. Her husband is a millionaire influencer who abandoned her during labor. He's systematically destroying her support system. I understand, Ms. Johnson said, but I still have to investigate. After she left, Claire sat very still. Lily was sleeping, 3 days old, perfect, innocent, unaware that her life was being torn apart before it even really began. This is how he wins, Claire said quietly. He doesn't just destroy me. He takes away the only thing that matters. He weaponizes the system against me. We won't let that happen, Brooke said. How do we stop it? He has money, lawyers, public sympathy. What do I have? The truth. The truth doesn't matter anymore. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you seen someone tell the truth and get punished for it? How many times have you watched a manipulator twist reality so effectively that up becomes down, black becomes white, and the victim becomes the villain? That's what Claire was learning. That sometimes the truth isn't enough. Sometimes you need more than being right. You need power, resources, a voice loud enough to be heard over the lies. 1 week later, 72 hours before the CPS deadline, Brooke had solved the housing issue. The guest house counted as stable housing. She'd drawn up a rental agreement charging Claire $1 per month, making it legally binding. Ms. Johnson returned, toured the space, checked on Lily, reviewed pediatric appointment records. "This is suitable," she said. "I'm closing the case. It was clearly retaliatory." Claire should have felt relief. Instead, she felt nothing. Numb, just waiting for the next attack. It came the next day. Brooke called, voice shaking. "Claire, you need to sit down." "What now?" "Grant's lawyer found your old blog from 2015. Claire's stomach dropped. "What blog?" "The one where you wrote about not wanting kids." The memory came flooding back. 9 years ago, 26 years old, fresh out of a bad relationship, processing her parents' divorce. She'd written a blog post titled, "Why I'll Never Have Kids." It had been therapy, working through trauma, processing fear. "Oh God," Claire whispered, "Grant's filing it as evidence. Proof you never wanted this baby, that the pregnancy was manipulation." Claire's hands shook. "That was 9 years ago. I was a different person. I was healing from—" "I know. But Claire, he's building a narrative. The blog from 2015 says you never wanted kids. Then you married a wealthy man. Then suddenly you're pregnant. He's making it look like you planned everything." "The blog was private. I set it to private years ago. His lawyer hired a private investigator. They hacked into your old account." Hacked. Illegal, but effective. Grant was eliminating every advantage Claire had. Every piece of evidence, every ally. The court date was in 1 week, 7 days, and Claire was losing before they even got to court. 5 days before court, Deputy Marshal showed up at the guest house. He looked sick. "Claire, I'm so sorry." "What happened?" "The sheriff's department is investigating against me for helping you during the eviction. Unauthorized use of department vehicle, interference with legal proceedings. Grant's lawyer filed a complaint." Claire's heart sank. "Owen, no. They're saying I was biased, that I assisted you in evading eviction, that I stole the nursery furniture from the moving truck. You saved me." "I know, but I broke protocol, and now I can't testify in your custody hearing. If I do, they'll use my bias to discredit everything." He left, and Claire realized what Grant was doing. Eliminating her allies one by one. Rachel, threatened with a lawsuit for breaching her NDA. Owen, discredited. Patricia, still siding with Grant despite her doubts. The evidence Rachel had gathered? Grant's lawyers were fighting to have it excluded as illegally obtained. Claire was alone, facing a millionaire with unlimited resources and no conscience. Here's what they don't tell you about leaving an abuser. Leaving is just the beginning. The real battle starts after. When they realize they can't control you anymore, they try to destroy you instead. They use the legal system, the court of public opinion, your own trauma against you. And sometimes they win. 2 days before court, 3 a.m. Lily was screaming, had been screaming for 4 hours straight. Claire tried everything, feeding, changing, rocking, bouncing, singing, walking. Nothing worked. Lily just screamed and screamed and screamed. Claire sat on the bathroom floor, Lily still crying in her arms, and felt something break inside her. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't. He's right. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I never wanted this. Maybe she'd be better off." The thought was intrusive, unwanted, terrifying. What if I just left, put her in the car seat, dropped her at a fire station, disappeared? The thought was there before Claire could stop it. And once it was there, she couldn't make it go away. This was rock bottom. Not the eviction, not the live stream, not the CPS investigation. This. This moment where she was so exhausted, so overwhelmed, so defeated that she was having thoughts she never imagined she'd have. She picked up her phone, typed out a text to Grant. "You win. I can't do this. You can have custody. I just want this to stop." Her finger hovered over send. Every part of her wanted to press it, wanted to make this end, wanted to surrender to the exhaustion and the fear and the overwhelming impossibility of doing this alone. Her finger moved toward the send button, and then Lily stopped crying. Just stopped. Looked up at Claire with those dark blue newborn eyes, made a sound, not a cry, a coo, a tiny perfect coo, and smiled, probably gas. Newborns don't really smile yet. But Claire didn't know that, or maybe she did, but chose not to care, because in that moment, Lily looked at her and smiled, and Claire broke down, not from despair this time, from something else, recognition. "You don't care about the blog," Claire whispered. "You don't care about the money. You don't care about any of it. You just need me. Just me." She deleted the text. Instead, she texted Brooke. "I need help, not legal help, mom help. I don't know what I'm doing and I'm scared." Brooke arrived 20 minutes later. Pajamas, no makeup, hair a mess. "Thank God," Brooke said. "I was waiting for you to admit that." She showed Claire how to burp Lily properly, how to swaddle her tighter, how to rock her in a specific rhythm. Mom skills that Claire had never learned because her own mother had died when Claire was 23. "Being scared doesn't make you a bad mother," Brooke said. "It makes you a real mother." And for the first time in weeks, Claire let herself cry. Really cry. Not from pain or fear or despair, but from relief. She wasn't alone. She was scared. She didn't know what she was doing. But she wasn't alone. And that was enough to keep going. The next morning, Claire's phone rang. "Patricia." "Claire, I need to tell you something." Claire almost didn't answer. But something in Patricia's voice stopped her. "What?" "I have a video from when Grant was 15. You need to see who he's always been." Patricia sent it. Claire pressed play. The video was old, home camera quality. Patricia looked younger, standing in a kitchen Claire didn't recognize. And Grant was there. Teenage Grant, 15 years old. He was screaming at his mother. The words were vicious, calculated to hurt, to manipulate, to control. "You're pathetic. You gave up everything for a man who didn't want you, and now you're trying to control me because you couldn't control him." Patricia in the video was crying, apologizing, trying to explain. And teenage Grant just got colder, more cruel, more precise. It was the exact same pattern, the same manipulation, the same cruelty. He'd been this way since childhood. "I told myself love could fix him," Patricia said on the phone, her voice breaking. "It can't. It never could. And I've watched him do to you what he's done his whole life. I can't watch anymore." "What are you saying?" "I'll testify against my own son. I'll tell the truth about the prenup forgery, about the charity fraud, about everything I witnessed. I'll tell the truth." Claire sat very still. "Why now?" "Because I looked at Lily, and I realized if I don't stop him now, he'll do this to her someday. When she's 29 and in love and trusting, he'll destroy her too. That's who he is. That's the pattern. And I can't let another generation suffer because I was too weak to act. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Patricia should have acted years ago, should have protected Rebecca, should have protected Claire. But it was something. And sometimes, something was all you got. The family courthouse in downtown Atlanta was exactly what Claire expected. Marble floors, high ceilings, the kind of place where lives changed on the strength of words and evidence and judicial interpretation. Claire dressed carefully. Simple navy dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back neatly. She wanted to look like what she was, a competent mother, a stable person, someone who could be trusted with a child's welfare. Brooke met her in the lobby. Behind her, Rebecca Hartley stood quietly. Grant's first wife. She'd flown in from Chicago specifically to testify. You okay? Rebecca asked. No, Claire said honestly, but I'm here. That's all that matters. They entered the courtroom, Judge Margaret Reynolds presiding. She was in her early 60s, silver hair pulled back severely, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked like someone who'd seen every variation of human behavior and wasn't impressed by any of it. Grant arrived with his lawyers, three of them, expensive suits, designer briefcases, the kind of legal representation that costs thousands per hour. He looked good. Of course he looked good. Hair perfect, suit tailored, expression perfectly calibrated to communicate. Concerned father, wronged husband, man seeking justice. But Claire saw through it now, saw the calculation, the performance, the cold assessment behind his eyes. Judge Reynolds opened the hearing. This is a preliminary hearing regarding temporary custody and emergency DNA testing. Mr. Donovan, your motion. Grant's lead lawyer stood, tall man, silver hair, voice like honey. Your Honor, my client has serious concerns about paternity given the timeline of conception and Miss Miller's admission of prior relationships. Additionally, we have concerns about the mother's fitness. She's currently reliant on charity housing, has no income, and made defamatory statements about my client on social media. Your Honor, Brooke interrupted smoothly, Miss Miller is residing with me, an officer of this court, while her legal residence, which Mr. Donovan illegally evicted her from, is being recovered. As for emotional instability, we have medical documentation from Dr. Helen Bartlett showing Miss Miller's exemplary composure during an extremely traumatic labor and delivery. Judge Reynolds held up a hand. I've reviewed the preliminary filings. Mr. Donovan, I have some questions for you, sir, for you. Grant stood, still performing, still confident. Yes, Your Honor. You live stream content online, correct? Yes, Your Honor. I'm a content creator. It's my profession. And you were live streaming on the day your wife went into labor? Yes, Your Honor. I had a scheduled stream, a commitment to my audience. A commitment to your audience was more important than being present for your child's birth? Grant's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client was not informed of the labor. Miss Miller failed to contact him. Is that true, Miss Miller? Judge Reynolds asked. Claire stood. Your Honor, my phone was functional. Mr. Donovan had the number. He was welcome to call at any time. Instead, he was live streaming from a penthouse apartment I didn't know existed, with a woman I'd been told was merely a gaming partner, while I was being evicted from my home and going into premature labor. Judge Reynolds turned back to Grant. Mr. Donovan, I watched portions of your live stream from that day. You discussed your wife's eviction in real time, correct? Grant shifted, uncomfortable for the first time. Yes, Your Honor. I was explaining the situation to my viewers. You were narrating your wife's trauma for entertainment purposes while it was actively occurring. I was sharing my truth, Your Honor. Your truth, I see. Judge Reynolds shuffled papers. I also have testimony here from Rebecca Hartley, your first wife. She describes a remarkably similar pattern of behavior: financial manipulation, public humiliation, abandonment during crisis. Can you explain these similarities? Grant's lawyer stood. Your Honor, Ms. Hartley signed an NDA. Her testimony is inadmissible. An NDA procured under duress is not legally binding, Counselor. Ms. Hartley has provided evidence that she was coerced into signing while under extreme emotional distress following a miscarriage. The NDA is void. The courtroom went silent. Judge Reynolds continued. I also have financial documents provided by Rachel Summers, Mr. Donovan's former assistant. These documents show systematic charity fraud, tax evasion, and wire fraud. Mr. Donovan, you're aware that federal investigators have been notified? Your Honor, those documents were obtained illegally. Miss Summers had legal access to those documents as your employee. She's protected as a whistleblower under federal law. Then Patricia took the stand. Claire watched Grant's mother testify against her own son, watched her describe the prenup forgery, the fake documents, the systematic manipulation. Patricia didn't look at Grant once, just kept her eyes on the judge, told the truth. When it was Claire's turn, she spoke clearly, calmly, no performance, just truth. Your Honor, 8 years ago I wrote a blog post about not wanting children. I was 26. I just watched my parents' marriage end in mutual destruction. That blog post was me working through fear. It wasn't a manifesto, it was therapy. People change, I changed. I wanted a family with someone I thought I could trust. Was I naive? Yes. But wanting to build a life with someone isn't a crime. I've had moments since Lily was born where I've thought, what did I do? Because newborns are hard. But having a moment of doubt doesn't make me unfit. It makes me human. My husband tried to paint me as calculating, as manipulative. But the truth is simpler. I loved someone who was performing love. And when the performance ended, he destroyed everything to cover his tracks. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for safety. For my daughter to grow up knowing at least one parent chose honesty over image. Judge Reynolds was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. I've reviewed the evidence. Mr. Donovan, your financial crimes will be referred to federal prosecutors. Your charity fraud, your forgery of the prenuptial agreement, and your systematic financial abuse of your wife are well documented. As for custody, full custody to the mother. You'll have supervised visitation pending completion of parenting classes and psychiatric evaluation. Child support retroactive to birth. You'll also pay all legal fees for both parties. And Mr. Donovan, I suggest you find a new career. Your current one seems to require a level of honesty you're incapable of. The gavel fell. Claire sat very still. It was over. This part, at least, she'd won. Claire's apartment was small, second floor walk-up in a quiet Atlanta neighborhood. One bedroom with a converted den for Lily's nursery, furniture from Target and thrift stores. Nothing matched. Everything was mismatched and secondhand. Imperfect. The lease was in her name. The utilities were in her name. The life she was building was hers, built on truth instead of performance, on reality instead of Instagram-ready lies. Lily was 6 months old now, sitting up, laughing, a completely different creature than the newborn who'd arrived during chaos. Every morning, Claire woke to Lily sounds from the nursery, not crying anymore, just those little wake-up noises that said, I'm here, I'm awake, come get me. Claire freelanced again. Graphic design, the skill she'd abandoned when Grant convinced her to quit her job, the skill that came back like muscle memory. She worked during Lily's naps, during brief windows when Lily was content in her bouncy chair, late at night after Lily's bedtime. It was hard, exhausting. Some days she cried from stress and loneliness and fear, but she was doing it one day at a time, one client at a time, one invoice paid at a time. She made about $3,000 a month, enough to survive, not enough to thrive, but enough. Money was always tight. Her credit was destroyed. She couldn't afford therapy yet. Dating was impossible, but she was free. No one was controlling her. No one was narrating her life. No one was performing love while planning destruction. She was just living, messy, real, honest, hers. She'd started a website, Project Lily, not a big organization, just a resource page, a list of lawyers who helped, shelters that took babies, how to document abuse, how to escape, helped 47 women so far. That mattered. One morning, Claire sat at a coffee shop, laptop open, working on a logo design for a local bakery. Lily in a carrier sleeping on her chest. A woman approached, 30-ish, scared eyes, pregnant belly showing. Excuse me, the woman said. Are you Claire Miller? The one who... I read your story, and I think I need help. Claire looked at her, saw herself 6 months ago. Sit down, Claire said. Let's talk. They talked for an hour. The woman's name was Emma. Her husband was a lawyer, made good money, told her to quit her job, isolated her from friends, made her feel crazy. Claire knew the story, had lived the story. Do you have somewhere safe to go? Claire asked. My sister's, in Birmingham. Good, go there, today if possible. Document everything, screenshots, bank statements, texts. Open a secret email account. Forward everything to it. He'll be so angry. He's already angry. You just haven't seen it yet because you're still doing what he wants. The anger comes when you stop performing your role. Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. I'm so scared. I know, I was too. Still am sometimes. But here's what I learned. Being scared while moving forward is still moving forward. You don't have to be brave. You just have to take the next right step. Emma left with Claire's number, a list of resources, a plan. Claire watched her go, then looked down at Lily, who was waking up. Those dark blue eyes focusing, recognizing her mother's face. "Hi, baby girl," Claire whispered. "Hi, sweet girl." Lily smiled, a real smile now, not gas, recognition, love. And Claire thought, this is enough. This tiny moment, this simple bond, this real life. Grant's empire had crumbled. Federal charges were pending. His channel was deleted, sponsors gone, following scattered. Patricia had testified and lost her son in the process. She called once a month, asked about Lily, never asked for forgiveness, just quietly tried to do better. Rebecca had become a friend, called weekly, shared war stories, laughed at the absurdity of having loved the same terrible man. Brooke was still Brooke, fierce, loyal, the kind of friend who answered at 3 in the morning. Claire's life wasn't perfect. It wasn't Instagram-worthy. It wasn't impressive to strangers. But it was real. And real, she'd learned, was the best thing to be. 1 year after that day on the lawn. 1 year after Claire's water broke during her eviction. 1 year after her entire world collapsed. Claire sat at her kitchen table, laptop open, Lily babbling in her high chair, smashing banana into her face. "Baba, baba," Lily said cheerfully, offering Claire a handful of mashed banana. "Thank you, baby," Claire said, pretending to eat it. Lily laughed, that full-belly baby laugh that made everything worth it. Claire's phone showed a notification. Project Lily had helped its 100th woman. 100 women. Not thousands, not millions, just 100. But 100 women now connected with resources. Legal help, emotional support, safe paths out of dangerous situations. 100 women because Claire had survived, because she'd spoken up, because she'd been willing to be visible. Grant was in federal custody, awaiting trial for charity fraud. His streaming career was over, his reputation destroyed, not by Claire, by himself, by the consequences of his own choices. Claire hadn't destroyed him. She'd just stopped protecting him from himself. There was a difference. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello. Claire, it's Emma from the coffee shop. 6 months ago, I wanted to say thank you. I left, got divorced. I'm rebuilding, and I wanted you to know that conversation changed my life." After Emma hung up, Claire sat very still. Changed her life. Those words mattered more than viral videos, more than millions of views, more than Grant's fake empire ever had. Real impact, real help, real change, one conversation at a time. Lily threw a piece of banana. It landed in Claire's hair. Claire laughed, pulled it out, threw it back gently. Lily shrieked with delight. This was winning, not revenge, not vindication, not Grant's suffering. This ordinary morning, this real life, this simple joy. Claire picked up her journal, wrote, "They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's not quite true. What doesn't kill you makes you different. Scarred, tired, wiser, more careful. But also more real. Grant wanted to turn my life into content. He wanted my pain to be his performance. But here's what he didn't understand. Real pain, real survival, real love, that's not content. That's not a story arc. That's not something you stream and monetize. It's just life, messy, hard, beautiful, mine. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, not even the fairy tale version I used to believe in. Because this version, the real one, the one where I'm broke and tired and scared sometimes but free, this version is mine. And mine is enough." Lily banged her hands on the high chair tray. "Mama." Her first word, just this morning, Mama. Claire looked at her daughter, at this person who existed because of choices Claire had made. Who would grow up in the life Claire was building? Who would learn about love by watching how her mother loved her? Not performative love, not conditional love, not love that required cameras or witnesses or validation. Real love. The kind that showed up at 3 in the morning. The kind that stayed through spit up and tantrums and exhaustion. The kind that chose someone over and over every day, every moment. Yeah, baby girl, Claire said. Mama's here. Mama's always here. Outside, it was starting to rain, the sound gentle against the windows. Lily watched the drops, fascinated. Claire finished her coffee, planned the day ahead, client meeting at 2, grocery shopping, pediatrician appointment, laundry, the mundane tasks of real life. No drama, no crisis, no cameras, no performance, no live stream trauma, no public betrayal, just life, real life, honest life. Claire's phone buzzed. A text from Brooke. Drinks Friday night, you need a break. Claire smiled, typed back, yes, desperately. She looked at Lily, who was singing to herself now. Not words, just sounds. Baby babbling that was somehow the most beautiful music Claire had ever heard. We made it, Claire thought. We survived. And now we get to do more than survive. We get to live. Lily smiled at her, reached out with banana-covered hands. Claire picked her up, mess and all, held her close, breathed in that baby smell that was somehow sweet despite the banana. I love you, Claire whispered. I love you so much. And Lily, 6 months old, looked at her mother with those dark blue eyes and said it again. Mama. This was everything. This was victory. This was peace. This was home. And it was enough, more than enough. It was everything. The rain continued. Lily babbled. Claire held her daughter and thought about all the women out there, still trapped, still scared, still wondering if they were crazy, still believing the lies their partners told them. She thought about Emma, about the 47 women before her, about the 100 who'd found resources on Project Lily, about Rebecca and Patricia and Rachel and all the women who'd helped her. An army. That's what Brooke had called it. An army of women helping women, breaking cycles, creating change. One woman at a time, one conversation at a time, one truth at a time. That was the real victory. Not Grant's downfall, not the court ruling, not the justice system finally working. The real victory was this. Claire had survived. And by surviving, she'd shown other women they could survive too. That was what mattered. That was what lasted. That was what changed the world. Not viral videos, not millions of followers, not performance in image and fake authenticity. Real connection, real help, real truth. Claire looked at her reflection in the window. Yoga pants with a stain, t-shirt that definitely needed washing, hair in a messy bun, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes. She looked exactly like every other tired mother, exhausted, overwhelmed, running on coffee and determination. And for the first time in years, she was okay with being ordinary, because ordinary was real. Ordinary didn't require cameras, or filters, or followers, or constant validation. Ordinary was sustainable. Ordinary was honest. Ordinary was enough. The story that started on a lawn in 95-degree heat, with a pregnant wife's water breaking during an eviction, while her millionaire husband lived streamed with his mistress, ended here, in a small apartment, with a baby covered in banana, with a mother who'd survived the unsurvivable. Not with revenge, not with a fairy tale ending, not with everything magically fixed, but with something better, something real, with freedom, with truth, with love that didn't require performance, with enough. And enough, Claire had finally learned, was everything. So that's Claire's story. From a front lawn in 95-degree heat to a small apartment where ordinary life became the greatest victory. If this story resonated with you, if you saw yourself or someone you love in Claire's journey, do me a favor, hit that like button. Not for the algorithm, but because it helps other women who need to hear this find it. Women who are right now standing on their own metaphorical lawn, wondering if they were crazy, wondering if they can survive. Drop a comment below and tell me, what moment in Claire's story hit you hardest? Was it the eviction, the rock bottom moment at 3 in the morning? Or maybe it was that final scene with Lily saying mama for the first time. I read every single comment, and your stories matter. They create a community of survivors helping survivors. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You know who I'm talking about. That friend who keeps making excuses for her partner. That sister who's just going through a rough patch. Sometimes all it takes is one story, one truth, one reminder that you're not alone to change everything. And if you want more stories like this, real stories about real people surviving impossible situations, hit that subscribe button. We're building something here, an army of truth tellers, people who refuse to let manipulators win, people who know that real life, messy and imperfect, is better than any performance. Because here's what I've learned from telling these stories. You're not crazy. Trust your instincts. Document everything. And know that on the other side of leaving is a life that's real. It won't be perfect, but it will be yours. Thanks for listening to Claire's story. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, and remember, surviving is just the beginning. Living is what comes next.
Thanks for watching.